welcome back. My panel is still with me. Kelvin Thomson and Fiona Nash are here to look at this year's budget. Of course, it is budget time. There's, just over 24 hours, and Wayne Swan will again be tabling his fourth budget in the Parliament. We have seen a lot of speculation and a lot of leaks from the government about what might be in it. Kelvin, the opposition, though, keeps telling us that it doesn't really mean anything, that the document won't be worth its weight because it won't include any costings on the carbon tax. Why not?
Well, I know the opposition complains. I heard Joe Hockey this morning saying everything the government touches turns to custard. Well, speaking for myself, I like custard. But the point about the carbon tax is you can't include in the budget something which has not been finalised. And when the Liberal Party was in government, John Howard never included anything about the GST. He'd announced the GST, but he didn't include it until the detail was all sorted. Ditto with emissions trading. He announced support for emissions trading, but you never saw any of that in the budget. So the government is clearly not in a position to put these things in the budget until the detail has been finalised. And furthermore, it's intended that the carbon price be broadly revenue neutral. It's not as if it'll have an impact on the budget bottom line.
Is that a fair enough argument, Fiona? We have seen the comparisons to when John Howard was Prime Minister, and isn't that a fair point? There's the MYEFO, the mid-year budget update that we'll get a bit later in the year.
It's interesting to watch the government go for this distraction technique. Don't watch what we're doing, just watch what the coalition would have done over there some time ago. But I think Kelvin's alluded to probably the clearest distinction, and that's the fact that when he talks about John Howard going with an ETS to an election, he did. We've got a Prime Minister that went to the last election saying there would not be a carbon tax. Absolutely unequivocally said to the Australian people, as did the Treasurer, to the Australian people that there would be no carbon tax. Subsequently, apparently, we're now going to have a carbon tax, but no, there's going to be nothing in the budget about how it's going to look.
Now, but deliberations are ongoing. We still don't know what the carbon price is. We don't know what sort of compensation package will be offered. How can the government make up figures just to get it into the budget?
Well, that's up to the government to be able to sort that out. They have a responsibility to say to the Australian people, this is probably one of the biggest issues we're facing as a nation, and we as the government are responsible in providing you with the information that you need through the budget process to make sure that you know what the cost is going to be. I don't believe it will be revenue neutral, as Kelvin alludes to. I think it's far from the case. But the Australian people simply have no clarity. So indeed it actually can throw the budget completely out of whack.
It would be nice to have some more figures on this, wouldn't it, in this year's budget?
Well, the government simply isn't at that point. The government is engaged in consultation with industry and business and other stakeholders, pensioners groups and the like, and working on the detail of this. And once the detail of this has been resolved, then yes, that will be factored into the budget, but you can't do it until you arrive at that point.
We have seen over the past week, every day pretty much, Julia Gillard's been out with a budget announcement. Most of them have been re-announcements from the election campaign. Today the government has announced that it's going to bring forward the low-income tax offset. It means that low-income workers will get more in their weekly pay packets instead of having to wait for a lump sum at the end when they put in their tax returns. Wayne Swan said today that he acknowledges this is really just a modest measure to help with cost of living pressures.
This is a modest amount of money, but every dollar counts, particularly when you're facing cost of living pressures. So it's good that we've been able to put this in the budget to assist those people that are doing it tough.
Joe Hockey says the government has been sending out mixed messages, saying on one hand how tough this budget is going to be, on the other hand giving out to low-income workers and saying that it does want to take the pressure off. Here's the Shadow Treasurer.
Having spent around $4 billion extra in just 8 days. They've lost control of their own budget. They've lost control of expenditure. This is going to put upward pressure on interest rates. It's going to end up making life more expensive for everyday Australians. The government is playing a political game. It's not delivering good policy, and certainly it's not delivering good budget policy.
Fiona Nash, Joe Hockey there was saying the government's playing a political game here, but the opposition is as well. We haven't seen the opposition criticise that many of the actual policy ideas coming out from the government in recent days, more just attacking the approach.
Well, we've certainly got to wait and see what's there tomorrow. Any of the leaks are always just that, leak.
Okay, sorry, we are actually going to interrupt you, Fiona Nash. We do have the Greens leader, Bob Brown, now speaking downstairs at the Senate courtyard. Let's just listen in to some of that.
I wanted to mention